record computer. And all right, so what I'm going to do with this class is I'm going to record all of our meetings and I'm going to post them on Moodle after we get done meeting. That way, when you guys are going in to do your own SPSS exercises, you will see what we did in class. And I don't expect you to remember everything we did or exactly have to work right at the same time that I'm working, because I know that can be difficult to do, to listen to somebody and then also be working with your own computer. So I'll record the videos and you'll be able to see what we did. And so hopefully that way there shouldn't be any real anxiety created by, I just don't know where to look at this damn SPSS program. I don't know what menu he went to. So you'll have that recording. The other thing that you all should be getting, there is some version of this book, the SPSS statistics, IBM statistics. You can get any edition that's 13th edition or later is great. I chose this book, this George and Mallory book, because it shows you how to do it in using a PC. It also shows you how to do it using Mac. And so if you were a Mac user, then it shows you the instructions for how to use it. It's very similar between PC and Mac. And so this is the only book that you'll need for this course. And this is basically just an instruction manual on how to use SPSS. So in addition to the videos I'm going to be posting, I will also be asking you to read from this book. And it's not exciting reading. It's an instruction manual, so you don't have to necessarily read it like you would a novel, but it goes through and it shows you step by step and examples of how to find the right procedure in SPSS, and also how to interpret the output. So the statistics that it produces, it shows you how to interpret. So we'll be doing all that in class, but also, it's always nice to have a book in front of you that shows you how to do that. Okay, so before I get into the specific class requirements in any great detail, are there any comments, concerns, or questions about this class, or anything general about classes, about registration, issues with that? If there are questions that come up, please, you can email me, you can message me on Moodle. I try to respond to that stuff as quickly as I possibly can. Yeah, if there are, especially if there are problems getting to me, getting on SPSS, or using Zoom, something like that, we need to nip that in the bud right away, because this class is all online. And so if there's some technical issues that you're having with your computer, I'm going to most likely direct you to the help desk. And you guys can always email the help desk, the Marywood help desk, and submit your problem. They'll usually ask you to, can you kind of recreate the problem you're experiencing with your computer, or give me a screenshot or something like that. So they want to know specific, because there are a million and one ways a computer could go wrong. You might need to update a driver, you might need to download something. And I know statistics, but I'm not a computer science guy, so I can't. It's really, even for computer science people, it's really hard to tell exactly what is going on with your computer if we can't see an example of what you're talking about. So if there are technical problems, something that it may be an issue, a software or hardware issue with your computer, then that's probably going to have to be directed to the help desk. And you can bring it up to me, but I'll most likely direct you to the help desk. But if you do that, just be prepared to give them an example of a screenshot, or be able to something to give them a hint, a clue as to why it is that things are just not working out for you. Okay, so well, what I'd like to go ahead and do now, I'm going to screen share with you, and I just want to go over the requirements for the class. And so let's see if I can do this. All right. Okay, so at this point, everybody should be able to see my screen. Somebody give me a thumbs up if they can see my screen. Okay, very good, thank you. Okay, so yeah, for this class, just going over here, this is on Moodle. Now also, everybody should have access to this Moodle page. I made it visible to everybody, so everybody should be able to see it. If you're having problems with Moodle, that's also something that we'll probably have to go to the help desk for that, because I probably would not be able to know exactly why. But here is the required book that I showed you. There will be, and you can get that used. Buying it from the bookstore is probably the most expensive possible way to get the book. I would advise going through Amazon or some other online marketplace to get that. But yeah, you just want to get something. I would prefer that you get the same book or these same authors here, because then we can we can follow along, be on the same page, literally. So there's that book, and that's the only book you need for this course. There will be some additional things to read on Moodle, but not a whole lot, because a lot of this class, it's quite technical. So a lot of it's not a class where you do a lot of reading. A lot of the class is going to be doing SPSS exercises. And so you guys really want to get into this. You want to learn this because this is one of the things that you're learning in college that has broad job place applications. And so statistical analyses are one of the few skills I have that have any value outside of universities. So I could talk to you until you're blue in the face about criminological theories, but a lot of employers probably don't care so much about your detailed knowledge of criminological theories. If you can crunch numbers for them, they care a lot about that. That's a big deal. And so whatever you go on and do eventually with your lives, whatever professional people you could become, this is something that you want to be able to put this on your resume. Like, I know how to use SPSS. I can do statistical analyses. Now, I don't have a PhD in statistics, so I'm not creating new formulae for people to evaluate, and I'm generating new proofs. You're not at that level. You're about being a confident and informed user and consumer of statistics. And so this is something where you will have exposure in this course. Many of you are also in my course 351. We have an exposure in that course to SPSS. And then finally, with the senior seminar, you're going to get it again. Stuff like this, where there's a steep learning curve, sometimes it takes 1, 2, 3 exposures for you to get it. But the beautiful thing about learning this kind of stuff is once you get it, you got it for life. It's not going to, all of a sudden, you're not going to forget how to interpret a correlation matrix or regression analysis. You will probably always remember how to do that, as opposed to like the specific details of some historical event, things like that. A lot of the stuff in college that you learn, it fades. It just does. Like, I don't remember a lot of my undergraduate courses. I just don't. It's not that I didn't like it. It's just that it's not something that sticks with you. If you really get into this, it will stick with you, and it's a skill for life. Okay, so just keep that in mind. That again, this is the statistical analyses, doing some number crunching, that has really broad applications for lots of jobs, and so it's something where you want to really get confident using this stuff. All right, so there's that. There is also here, this entry, this SPSS software. So this is free and available for everybody who has a PC. Now, if you are a Mac user, unfortunately, Apps Anywhere has still not gotten their act together and made it available for Mac users. Macs are great hardware, but there is a lot of software problems with them. And so this is one example. Fortunately, I sent you all a message that you can rent, if you are a Mac user, you can rent a copy of SPSS for 6 months, I think for $39.95, which is a good deal. You might even find it cheaper than that. You might find that you can download. I know there are places, if you just go forth and Google, you can find places that allow you to download a free trial, and so you can use that for a little while. But the best thing really for you is to get access to a PC and just go through Apps Anywhere, and that way there shouldn't be any problems with this. So just a okay, I had to yell at my son for a second there. Sorry. All right. So here are the requirements for what you should be getting access to. You should have the book. You should have the SPSS software. We're going to be meeting every Monday and Wednesday from 11 to 12. So that is our meeting time. Every meeting time, pretty much every meeting time, we're going to be doing SPSS exercises. Every Friday, except for this Friday, because unless people have specific questions they want to talk to me, there will be an open meeting time for people to come and ask questions about homework. So I'm not necessarily going to hold it this Friday because this Friday we don't have there's not a homework assignment that's due right away. Let me see when the first one is due. The first one is due on, let's see, the 25th. So that's due on midnight Monday. So when I have something, so you can have that due by the 25th on Monday night. So you don't have to have it Monday by class time. So I'm just going to get you started with SPSS today, but we don't have to have, we're not necessarily going to have even the optional meeting time on Friday unless people need to talk to me about something specific about getting the book or SPSS. So just to clarify, everybody should be attending the Monday and Wednesday classes every time. You should be showing up to the Monday and Wednesday classes. Friday, it's up to you. So I will have the Zoom, I will put the Zoom meeting, the invitation out. I won't do it this Friday. I'll only do it for people who specifically send me a request and say, I need to talk to you about something. But every Friday here on out, I'm going to be sending out that, but the Friday meeting will be optional. Monday and Wednesday meetings are not optional. So Friday's meeting should be all about the homework. Okay. So next requirement is that you're to complete SPSS assignments. And so these will be graded on a 3-point scale, just 0 if you didn't do it, a 1 if you tried it, but it's really messed up, like you just didn't do it right. I'll still give you 1 point for that. 2 points for full completion, but there's errors. You just, you did it pretty much all done, but there's problems. And then a 3 points if you completed it and there's no errors, except for maybe really minor things. And so that is a big chunk of your grade. Another big chunk of your grade are exams. And so these are not timed exams. These are take-home exams. These are exams I will give you questions to use SPSS to provide your answers for. And so these are 4 non-cumulative exams, and they will be very, very, very similar to the exercises we're doing in class. Okay, you can always ask me questions about the exam, about what do you mean by this? I can't give you the answer. You can consult with one another. I don't care if you work on groups on this. I don't. In fact, I kind of encourage that. So long as you're not just straight copying off of somebody who may not really know what they're doing. That you don't want to do that, but you're more than welcome. If you want to consult with one another, you want to work with one another on these assignments, it's fine with me. And that in the real world, when people are working in labs or people are working in a research firm, something like usually you're working in groups. It's not people in isolation working in isolation chambers. So it's perfectly fine to work with one another on the exams and the assignments. I encourage that, in fact, and so you don't worry about that's not cheating or plagiarism in this class, is to work with one another. I just say don't just like blindly copy off of somebody who may be doing it totally wrong. Okay, so that just with that caveat there. So there's that. So yeah, the exams are take home. And so long as you give yourself plenty of time, I'm not making these exams to be epic. There's 4 of them. They only should take you about a couple hours to do. So that shouldn't be something that's like an epic quest to try to get the thing done. It should be something that you can do in a couple hours. If it's an exam that takes me like 20 minutes to do, I'll multiply that by 4 and say, okay, it shouldn't take much more than that amount of time to get that done. So so the books are the exams are take home. Okay, so here is the breakdown for the course. So your assignments are worth 40%. And so a lot of that is just complete them fully and you'll get an A for that. The exams, they're worth 40% of your grade. And then participation and attendance, that is worth 40 or 20% of your grade. So the participation attendance, that's a big deal. That's 2-letter grades. And so you need to, one, be in class, but also when I'm asking questions, if you want to make sure and get full credit 100% for that participation attendance portion of your grade, you want to make sure and ask questions, respond to my questions in class occasionally. You don't have to do it every single class time. But if you are, if I don't hear a peep from you the entire class, and especially if you're not getting like 100s on your exams, I can't in any good conscience give you 100% on participation and attendance. So you do have to participate at least a few times in the class, in addition to having regular attendance to get the full to get an A on this portion of your grade here. Okay, so just make sure that you're showing up every Monday and Wednesday. Again, Friday is optional. If you think you got this in the bag, then fine. You don't have to show up on Fridays. But and every Friday except for this Friday here coming up, I'm going to send out a Zoom, and then people can join up on that if they would like. Okay, so here is what's visible so far on the Moodle page. You've got this is the AdHealth data set. This is a data set what I'm pointing to right now that we're going to be using extensively in the class. This is going to be the main data set that we're working with. So that is what that entry is. This is the AdHealth code book. So a code book is kind of like what it sounds. It is the coding for how people did the survey. So they may ask all kinds of questions of kids in high school in this AdHealth survey. It stands for the National Longitudinal Study of Adolescent and Adult Health. That's what AdHealth stands for. But it's this big data set of which there is a publicly available version that contains, I think, some 6,000 respondents. They're all kids between the ages of like 12 to 17, all kids in high school, and they ask them pretty much everything under the sun, from whether or not you've had sex, whether or not you've done drugs, how well do you get along with your mother, your father, do you like school, what kind of grades are you getting, like every single thing you could think to ask a kid. The AdHealth survey asks these kids. And so the code book shows you the questions and the responses and all the details of all the questions and things like that. Whereas the data set is usually just the data. It doesn't really give you a whole lot of information about the question itself. And so that's what that PDF entry is. Below that, there's also a website to the AdHealth data set. And so that's there, which we'll go there in some class. And then in addition to this, there are going to be lots of lectures on here. Well, not lots, but some lecture slideshows that we'll go over some of this in class, but it's there for you to review. It also is touched upon in your book. And so the first one is scoring and levels of measurement. We'll deal with that here next week. And then there is also then these entries here where it says assignment. And so typically when an assignment is due, it's due during class time. If it's not set during class time, then it's due by midnight. With the exception of this first assignment, you don't have to turn this first assignment in until Monday at midnight. Okay, and so because the first assignment is fairly simple, I don't think we need a whole lot of time to do that, but you can wait until Monday at midnight to turn that in. We will get the very beginnings of that done today. We're going to work on that. That's pretty much what we'll do all Monday in class, is we're going to do assignment 1. Okay, so just keep that in mind, that typically when I say assignments are due, I would like them, if they're due on a class day, I'd like them turned in by class time. And if it's due on a day that's not a class time, then you can turn it in by midnight. But you just, for all these assignments, what I want you to do is typically how it will go is you want to use SPSS, get your answers from the SPSS output, and then literally cut and paste from the SPS output right into a Word document or a Google Doc or a PDF or whatever, and then post it on there. And then sometimes I ask you to type in some additional information in on your Word document, and then you just upload that Word document or PDF or Google Doc straight to Moodle. Okay, does that make sense? That you're okay. Somebody else is coming in here. All right, so That's what we do in the assignments. So the assignments will give you instructions on what to do in SPSS. You'll get the information from the SPS output, and then a lot of times I ask you to cut and paste from the SPS output into some other file and then upload that file onto Moodle. Okay, so that's that. Okay, so the first thing. Are there any, before I get into something with SPSS, are there any questions about anything that I went over? Any questions about anything so far that I've said? Everybody good? Okay, so if there is something that comes up that you think I should have really asked them that in class, it's always usually a good idea to ask in class, especially if it's a homework related question. Because if you have the question, there's probably at least one other person in class that has pretty much the exact same question. And so it's always usually good to homework specific questions asked in class. But if it's anything else that's beyond that, you can always email me and you same here. So, okay. Let me go ahead then. And what I'd like to do is go back to the SPSS or this Moodle screen first. And what I want to do right now is I want to go ahead, I'm going to open up SPSS through this Apps Anywhere and just show you the very beginnings of our first assignment. Can people still see my screen? Okay, because sometimes it freezes and I can't tell it's frozen until someone says, hey, your screen is frozen. So right now it's just opening up SPSS. And all right, so let me go ahead and open this up. All right, so what everybody should see right now, everybody right now should see an SPSS blank spreadsheet. Is that what everybody's seeing? So, no, you can't see that.
It's showing like your list of apps.
Oh, it's just showing my list of, okay, here we go. Thank you. Okay, so what we got to do, so yeah, this is why I'm going to be asking you guys, sorry if this gets annoying, but I have to do, okay, now you should be able to see an SPSS screen? Okay, great. Yeah, that's what I was talking about. Sometimes this thing freezes. Okay, so this is the SPSS data view window. Okay, so this is the window. It's just almost just like an Excel file. So what you're seeing here are a bunch of rows and a bunch of columns. Okay, so this is the traditional way that this is understood, that these are your rows going 1 through 40 here it's showing, and that over here are your columns. And so the usual way that data sets are set up is that your rows are counting your number of observations. And so when we're using the Ad Health data set, our observations are people. And so this would be, person 1 through, and there's like 6,000 people in the Ad Health data set, for example. So it'd be like 1 through 6,000. And then going across then the columns, these are names of particular variables. And so person 1 might, person 1 here would have some value on a variable called age. And so this person 1 might be 21 years of age. And so you would see something like age right there where it says var instead of, that's short for variable. You would see age there, and you would see some numerical value input there for that. All right. So yeah. So these are your rows, and the rows typically, unless something funny has happened with your data set, typically the rows are indicating your observations, your units of observations. A lot of times in the social sciences, units of observations are individual people. They don't always have to be. They could be states, they could be counties. That's when you're doing like higher aggregate level analyses where you're like, okay, here are all the counties in Pennsylvania, numbered 1 through, I don't know how many counties there are in Pennsylvania, 1 through whatever. And then there will be variables for those counties. So you like a percent white, percent black, a percent female, percent in the workforce, that kind of thing. So your units of observation don't have to be people. They could be counties or some other larger unit of analysis, but they would still be numbered 1 through whatever. And then you have various variables associated with those units of observation. Okay, so that's what you see when you're on data view. And notice down here this tab can you guys see that I'm kind of circling around the data view down there? Okay, great. I just want to make sure that whatever is visible to me is visible to you. So that's highlighted in orange, so you know you're on data view. Okay. If you click this, it goes to what's called variable view. Okay. Can you still see that? Okay, so it's on variable view. Now here is where, if you are going to make a new data set, which is your first assignment, you would start inputting information about your data, about your variables in this screen, okay, where it says variable view, okay? And so what we would do if we want to say, okay, we have a variable that we recorded a person's age and years here. And so if we want to create a variable called age, we just go ahead and click on the box and you type in age. Now, there's some specific rules about the variable names in SPSS. It's very particular. You can't have any spaces. You can't have any special characters. So you have to make your variable names really simple, but usually you want to call them something that indicates what you actually measured. So you're measuring somebody's age in years, and so you just put age. And so that will, once you do that and you click off of it, it will start filling in extra information. Some of these columns over here we're not going to deal with right away, but right now all it's telling you is you've got a variable called age that you're putting in right there. All right. So we can also give the variable a label. Now, SPS allows you a lot more freedom when you want to label your variable. So rather than just calling this age, we want to say, what exactly is this? Age in years, okay? And so we can put that in there. And so we know this is a variable. The name of that variable is age, and the label for this variable is age in years. And so that makes it pretty unequivocal that what we're measuring here is someone's age in years. All right, so that's how we create a name and a label for particular variables. That's what we do. All right, so if we want to go in and we took a survey, we collected a bunch of data. Now we have all this data, and we want to input this data into SPSS, and we collected data, let's say just from 10 people. This is your assignment, your first assignment. I think I say you want to input data for 10 people. 10, you just want to make them up. So what you want to do to actually input that data, you want to go back down here and you want to click on where it says data view. This goes back to data view. Now notice up here in our top variable spot, can everybody see that? Can everybody see age up there, back at the screen? Okay, good. Julie's shaking her head yes, so I'm assuming everybody else can see this. So age now is up there, so we know that we have a variable age. And if we want to input data for this, you just click on that and say, okay, I'll treat this like a typical college course and say, okay, person 1 is 21 years of age. Person 2 is 20 years of age, and then we got another 21-year-old, we got a 23-year-old, we got a 19-year-old, we have an 18-year-old, we have another 21-year-old, I'm just making it up, another 20-year-old, 20-year-old, another 21-year-old, and a 17-year-old is in college. Okay, so so now we have data that's input for this variable. We have a total of 10 cases. And so we have our 10 cases here. ranging 1 to 10, and here are the ages in years for these 10 imaginary people that we made up. And so that's how you would physically input data into the SBS spreadsheet. Now, a lot of times when people are collecting large amounts of data, what they're usually doing is importing it from one Excel type spreadsheet directly into SPSS. So they're not putting it in by hand. That would be crazy because you would make a lot of mistakes most likely. So usually when people do surveys anymore, it's web-based or it's computer-based, and it's already in some sort of standard spreadsheet setup where you've got your rows and your columns, and then you just go into SPSS and you open it up, and it inputs it right away. And so you might have to go in and then put some characteristics associated with those variables. But if you're making a small data set, you just have a small number of people, even like up to 100 people. I mean, you could go in and put this stuff in hand directly from paper surveys. You could have a stack of paper surveys, and you can go through and have somebody do this. I would hate doing that, actually. I'd make too many mistakes, so I would not want to do that. But this is just how you would do it if you're going to do it directly from paper. Okay. So, so you have this variable age in there. So that's all we're going to do with age right now. So let's say we want to make another variable. We also recorded where the person was born, what state they were born in. Okay, and so we'll assume that we'll say they were all born within the United States. So we'll make another variable. And so I click back on the variable view down there. And so we're now at where it says variable view, and we want to create another variable. We'll just call it state. Okay, remember this, naming the variable, it's very fussy, no spaces, no special characters. So I just called it state, and I'm going to put a label here, and I'm going to call it state of birth. Okay, so for label, again, SPSS allows you to, write. You could write like a little paragraph into that label if you wanted to. But the label should give you a more precise indicator. It should be a more precise indicator of what your variable is measuring. So state of birth. Okay, because states of birth, that's not a interval or ordinal or ratio type variable. It's something called a nominal variable. There's no automatic numerical value associated with states. It's not like measuring age in years or measuring your height in inches or anything like that. It is what's considered a nominal variable. So what we have to do, we have to create value labels for state. Okay, so what you want to do if you have some data, that requires you to input what each level indicates. What you want to do is you want to click on this where it says under value, and a little blue button will come up, and you click this little blue button. Okay, so what we need to do, we always have to, in SPSS, in order to conduct statistical analyses on something, if someone was born in Pennsylvania, we have to assign Pennsylvania a number. It doesn't matter what number it is. It's totally arbitrary because it's just nominal. But we'll say, okay, since we're in Pennsylvania, we're in a university in Pennsylvania, we'll go ahead and make Pennsylvania state number 1. And so we'll say, okay, if you're 1, then the label will be PA. So I'm not going to spell out all the states. I'll just put PA. And then you put add. Okay, so what this does, it tells SPSS that everybody who was born in Pennsylvania is going to be coded as 1. Now, I'm just making this up, but you just have to, so long as you're consistent across all observations, that's what that will mean. So people born in Pennsylvania are going to be a 1. Okay, so let's call Jersey 2. So if you're born in New Jersey, you get a 2. NJ, and then you hit add, and then you'll add that. So everybody who was born in New Jersey gets a 2. If you're born in New York, the abbreviation for New York State is NY, right? Isn't that right? Okay, Christy's saying yes. Okay, so we'll say New York is 3. Oops. I did it backwards. So I made a mistake. So the value goes first, then in Y. Add, okay. So when it says value, it's definitely looking for a numerical value. And then we'll just do one more. We'll say my home state, we'll say Ohio. And so we'll say 4 then is Ohio. So 4 equals OH. Right, and so what you have here is a variable. It's a nominal variable. That's a technical term for it. And it's the nominal variable because it doesn't automatically have some quantitative value associated with it. We just arbitrarily said, okay, Pennsylvania is 1, New Jersey is 2, New York is 3, Ohio is 4. Okay, and then you go ahead and hit okay. And what it will do then, if you, so it goes ahead and then you can go back, you can always look back and say, okay, how did I do that? Okay, this is how I labeled it. This is what I assigned to 1 for people from Pennsylvania, 2 for people from New Jersey, so on and so forth. Now, if we go down and go back to our data view, you will see state up there. Now we have to say, okay, let's say that, okay, the first person, this person 1, this 21-year-old, okay, they were born in Pennsylvania. Next person was born in Pennsylvania. And say New Jersey, we'll say, New York, got a couple people from Ohio, again, Pennsylvania, and then a couple more people from New Jersey. Okay, so so it's just representing the states based on the coding you gave them. There is something that you can do though to indicate which variables have a value label associated with them. So right now it's just showing the number. So you look at that. That doesn't tell you anything unless you have a good memory. You can remember right away. Okay, 1 is Pennsylvania, so on and so forth. You can go up here where it says it's not highlighting, but this is where it goes, where it has this little symbol 1 to A. Oh, there it goes, value labels. If you click that and see, it changes it over to the state labels. Can you see that? Can everybody see that, how it changed? Yeah. So it doesn't matter if you've done that. You can still run statistical analyses, but that shows you, okay, that's what all those people. So this person right here is 21 years of age and she's from Pennsylvania. This person, she's 20 and from Pennsylvania. This guy, we don't have information on gender yet. This guy is 21 years of age. He's from New Jersey. Okay, so that is the typical way that you read these spreadsheets. So here are your units of observation. They're people. This is how old they were, and this is the state that they were born in. Okay. This is the beginnings of your first assignment. You just need to make a data set. You just make up data just like I was doing. And you want to save that data set and you want to upload it to Moodle. Okay. Now, very important, how to save your data set. What you want to do is you want to go into where it says File. Okay, and you want to go to where it says Save As. Okay, and this little window will pop up. Can everybody see this little window that popped up, the save? Okay, so notice the file type is a file called a .sav file. There are 2 principal files associated with SPSS. There is your main data file, which you always want to save. You always want to save this if you make changes to the data set. And then there's something called the output file, which that just shows you the results of your statistical analyses. But this file, the .sav file, is what you get when you go to File, Save As. You will get this .sav file, and so this is this data set that you are saving. This thing we just made in this Excel looking sheet. So you want to save this. You can call it my first data set, something like that, and save it. It's anywhere. Save it somewhere to your desktop or wherever. And you do that by go ahead and hitting save, okay? And once you do that, it should give you this output file. So this is an output file. This is the other principal file that is associated with SPSS. And so this is this output file, and it's showing where you saved it. And so this is the output that you may or may not be saving this. For a lot of your assignments, the output on here, you'll be literally cutting and pasting from that window and putting it into SPSS. Okay, so that's just giving you information. It's showing you where it saved it at. It's just telling me that I saved it in my documents, and it's called my first data set. Okay, so are there any questions about that, about what we just went over? Okay, and so we will have all of Monday to be going through this. If there are any questions about what we did, and you need to catch yourself up, there's something that you're not getting, Friday would be a good time to do that. Sometime between 11 and 12 would be a good time to do that. I don't, it's not going to be a full homework session like we're typically going to have on Fridays. But anyway, if you're struggling so far to the stuff that we've done, then just let me know and we can work that out on Friday. But that is saved. And so if you go, if I want to minimize this, I'm going to minimize this, get out of this. Let me. Okay, so that would be saved in my data set. Let me get back to, stop my screen sharing. I'm going to go ahead and screen share again and get to, well, it's saved in my data set. I want to go back to, or it's saved in my documents. So I already explained that. Let's go into this. Can you guys see the Moodle page now? Okay. Yeah. Okay. So what I want to do next is I want you to be able to download this data set. So this is the AdHealth data set. This is a real deal survey data taken from real flesh and blood kids. And so this is what you want to do to get access to this. What you need to do is you want to go ahead and download it. It will most likely go to your downloads folder. I'm not sure how it does it in Mac, but in PC, when you download something, it automatically goes to what's called your downloads folder. So you do that. And then what you want to do is, let me go back to SPSS real quick. Okay, so I want to open up, I can leave this thing open, that's fine. I want to open up that AdHealth data set that I just downloaded to my downloads file. So I want to go File, I want to go Open, and I want to go to where it says Data. So there's lots of things you could be opening up here. Just keep in mind. So I'm going to the first entry where it says Data. Okay, so it's going to be looking on my computer. See, it's showing my first data set there. I'm going to go to Downloads. Where are my downloads? Downloads. Okay, and here it is right here. I've downloaded it twice. So I'll just double click on that and voila. Okay, so here is the AdHealth data. I've got it clicked on. Can everybody see that? That Excel sheet should be a bunch of, can we see that? No? Okay, here. Let me stop sharing. Go. Okay, should be able to see that now. Yes, okay, great. Okay, so what you're seeing now, this is, I'm on data view and I'm in the AdHealth data set. And so here we go, here's case ID. So they assigned everybody a case ID number. And here are all our observations. You can scroll all the way down, hit page down. Can I do this? Let me do this, go page down. All the way down, you get, see, here's all your, and it stops. So we've got a total of 6,504 respondents in this data set. So 6,504 kids are providing data for this survey. Okay, so here are all of the people, and then across the top, here are all the variables for which they recorded information. Okay, so I've got this right now, so it's showing the value labels. If I click this, it'll go right back to the numbers, strictly only the numbers. It doesn't really matter when you're doing analyses whether or not this form is on or this form is on. This is the AvHealth data set, and it's got a bunch of variables in there. A lot of these variables themselves don't tell you a whole lot. In fact, if you go to variable view, can you all still see that when I went to variable view? Yeah. Okay, so see, here's the variable names. Most of them don't tell you jack about what variable you actually measured. That's why it's useful to go over and to look at the labels for the variables. So let's start with this one. So here is the variable name, biosex. And so that you notice that they put that little underscore there so they could have a space between bio and sex. Otherwise, it wouldn't. The SPSS won't let you type it in. So if you want a space in your variable names, you have to put a little underscore thing there or something like that. And then it tells you the variable label. Okay, so this is biological sex. And here is how they coded it. Males equal 1, females equal 2, and 6 is refused. This data was collected back in 1994. This was well before the growing awareness and sensitivity to people who are not exactly male or female or like to prefer to identify otherwise. And so in a more modern survey, they typically have that in there, but this was back in the ancient times of 1994. And so they only have, so male is 1, female is 2, and 6 is refused. Okay, so that's the value labels. Okay, so that's how the thing was coded. And so gender is a nominal variable. Females could be 1 and male could be 2. It doesn't really matter so long as everybody in the data set who identifies as male is coded as 1, and everybody who identifies female is coded as 2, and that was done consistently, then we're all good. It doesn't really matter. We could have male coded as -99 and female coded as 62. It doesn't really matter. It's so long as you're having a number consistently associated with some particular gender category, that's all that matters for the purposes of SPSS and doing statistical analyses. Okay, the last thing that we're going to do before I let you go, I want to go back to where it says data view. And if I were, this is what we're going to get into next week. If I want to know how many males and females are in my data set, I would go to where it says analyze descriptive statistics, and then go over to frequencies. Oh, it's giving me, okay. And it's going to bring up this little window right here. And this is a list of all the variables. And I want to know how many males and females there are. I want to push that variable over to here so I know it's going to be analyzed. And for this purpose right now, all we want to do, we don't need to mess with anything over here. We just want to hit OK. And right now it's showing me, okay, so can people see that that output window? Are you seeing that? No? Okay, let me go back and screen share again. Okay, can you see it now? Right. Okay, so I just analyzed the variable biological sex and see what we get. We've got males, we've got 3,147 males. Females, we got 3,356. Total of 6,503 valid responses, and we've got one missing. One person did not prefer to put their gender down, so they are coded as missing, which is something we'll get into later on in the class. Here is the percent out of the 6,504. And then there's another column called valid percent, which is out of the number of observations that gave valid responses. They're exactly the same in this case because there was only one missing case, so it's not going to be any different. And then there's a third, or I should say a fourth column over here called cumulative percent, which will always add up to 100%. Will always add up to 100%. So males are 48.4% plus females, which is 51.6%. That totals 100%. Okay, folks, so that is today. It ran over a few minutes. I apologize, but if there are any questions, you feel free to ask. we will work on that first assignment the whole time on Monday. And so we should be able to get that done, no problem. If there are any questions, you can feel free to ask me. I encourage you to look at that first assignment and see if you can do it. I bet you a lot of you can just do it at this point because it's just making up a data set. That's just like what I did. I just made up a data set. And so take a look at that, attempt doing that, take a look at that first lecture slideshow, which is called Scoring and Levels of Measurement. Take a look at that. And then you want to start reading through, or at least browsing this SPSS book. You want to start doing that. Chapters 1 through 4 is what I would like you to start reviewing, because that is getting into the mechanics of how we find things we need to find within SPSS. All right, folks. So that is all for today. Again, we're not there's no official homework session on Friday unless there's some particular thing you need to ask me about. We will spend an entire Monday working on the first assignment of making your own data set, and so that is what we're going to do on Monday. So are there any questions? If not, you're free to go. Good to see you all again, and we will all get through this semester and get through this class, and everybody will be walking away happy and satisfied, hopefully. Okay, all righty, folks. So you're free to go. Unless there are any questions, you can hang out and I can talk to you a little bit more. But bye-bye. This is all we got for today. Okay, we're all done now, I believe.